Today's Dhamma talk is about the Four Noble Truths. The truth which ought to be realized is the Four Noble Truths. Namely, 1. The Noble Truth of Suffering, Dukkha Satya. 2. The Noble Truth of Origin of Suffering, Samudaya Satya. 3. The Noble Truth of Extinction of Suffering, Nirodha Satya. And 4. The Noble Truth of the path that leads to the extinction of suffering, Magga Satya. The first truth, the Noble Truth of Suffering or Dukkha Satya, means the 5 upadana khanas, that is, the 5 aggregates or groups of mental and physical phenomena that we grasp or we cling to as I, my, and as self. And it is mentioned in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Buddha says, Sankhetena Panchupadana Khanda Dukkha. Briefly speaking, Dukkha Satya, or the truth of suffering, is this 5 aggregates of clinging. One must discern suffering so as to understand it correctly. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking must be taken note of at the moment of their occurrences, so as to understand them correctly. If no noting is made at the moment of their occurrence, the nature of their arising and passing away may not be seen correctly, and the craving to the apparent physical and mental phenomena will arise, which is the origin of suffering. Because of craving, attachment to these phenomena will arise, and volitional deeds are committed. These volitional deeds cause rebirth, and thus continuous arising of the whole mass of suffering arises. If mindful noting is made at the moment of the arising of these objects through the 6 sense doors as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, etc., these physical and mental phenomena will be correctly seen, and there will be lessening of craving. This is getting rid of, in Pali we call pahatapa. Pahatapa means getting rid of the origin of suffering. By noting continuously, seeing, hearing, etc., at the moment of their occurrence, the task to get rid of the origin of suffering is accomplished, which accords with the teaching in the first discourse Buddha gave as Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Every act of noting in this manner reduces suffering, that is, having less rebirths to a certain extent. By thus noting, the extinction of suffering is momentarily realized through vipassana magga satya, that is, mundane path. This accords with the teaching that the extinction of suffering is to be realized, and the path that leads to the extinction of suffering is to be developed. The supramundane realization of nibbana through vipassana magga, that is mundane path. As recorded in Maluja Buddha Sutta, Buddha said, Rupan Diswa Sati Mokta Piyam Nimitam Manasi Karoto Sarata Chaito Vediti Tanja Ajosa Deitati. Meaning, at the moment of seeing a visual form, if you fail to note and meditate on the act of seeing, if it is a pleasant one you enjoy it, and craving arises. It is true when you see a desirable object. One in whom craving has arisen will have good and bad feelings in connection with the object seen. If the object is desirable, joy will arise, and thus craving of it. If the object is undesirable, aversion will arise, and thus hatred of it. This craving and hatred make one's mind restless. It agitates the mind. Unmindfulness amounts to creation of suffering. That is, by being reborn again and again, one has to undergo suffering. Thus, one is far from Nibbana. One who is mindful of seeing whenever it arises is said to be near to the Nibbana. This fact also is explained as follows by Buddha. Na so rejati rupesu rupan diswa patisato virata jaito vedeti tanja najo satitati. Meaning, at the moment of seeing, if one meditate on the act of seeing, craving on the object seen will not arise. This is true. Every time seeing arises, if one looks at seeing continuously, craving on the object seen will not arise, and there will be no reflection on it as well. On discerning the nature of the arising and passing away of seeing and the object seen, neither pleasure nor aversion will arise in connection with it. Therefore, if one is mindful, one's mind will be free from craving, and there will be only passive sensation, meaning sensation without emotion or reaction. The visual form seen does not become an object of attachment in one's mind. If one is mindful, if there is only passive sensation, suffering which can arise when there is no mindfulness will have no chance to arise, and thus is cessation. It means, if there is no mindfulness at the moment of seeing, craving and clinging to the visual object seen will arise, and suffering of being reborn again and again will ensue. On the other hand, if there is mindfulness, suffering will be got rid of, as it has no chance to arise. So if one wishes to get rid of suffering and realize happiness, one will have to be mindful every time seeing arises. The development of this knowledge through meditation is called preliminary path, Bhoba Bhaga Maganga. By developing this preliminary path, one is bound to realize Nibbana, the extinction of suffering, through the attainment of the supramundane path, that is Ariya Magga Satya. If one practices meditation, one's insight knowledge will progress, and one will finally realize Nibbana through path and fruition knowledge, Magga and Phala Jnana. If one attains path and fruition knowledge for the first time, one becomes a stream winner, Sotapanna, and forever escapes from the four lower realms of woeful states. One will be reborn at most 7 times in good existences of human or celestial deva realms, and finally attain the Arhata path and fruition, and gain deliverance from this whole mass of suffering, such as rebirth, old age, sickness and death, etc. On attainment of Sakaragami, Magga and Phala, one will become a Sakaragami, once Sradhana. and within 2 existences will attain the Arhata path and fruition, and gain deliverance from this whole mass of suffering. On attainment of Anagami, Mega and Phala, one will become an Anagami, that is non-Ratana, and will escape from the suffering connected with the human and celestial worlds, and will be reborn in the Brahma realms. Then one will become an Arhat, final stage of holiness, through Arhata, Mega and Phala, path and fruition, knowledge, and gain deliverance from the whole mass of suffering. As one continues to meditate on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, etc., at the moment of their arising, and with the progress of insight knowledge, one will become an Arhat, and after final passing away, meaning Parinibbana Juti, there will be complete extinction of all suffering. So, for the sake of complete extinction of all suffering after passing away of the present life or any future life, one must practice intensive meditation on seeing every time it arises. One practice to become at least a stream winner or Sotapanna so as to escape forever from the 4 lower realms of woeful states. What I have said just now is how to meditate on seeing when it arises through the 6 sense doors. And likewise, one has to meditate on hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. If there is no mindfulness, one is far from Nibbana. And if there is mindfulness, one is near to Nibbana. And the way one meditate on every act of seeing, do so on every act of hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. And this instruction Buddha gave as Data Sutta Muta Vinyate Su Dhammesu Date Data Madam Bhavaisati Sute Sutta Madam Bhavaisati Mute Muta Madam Bhavaisati Vinyate Vinyata Madam Bhavaisati. Meaning, when one see and noting as seeing, also hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. While meditating on these sense objects, there will be only passive consciousness of like visual object or audible object on hearing. There will be only passive consciousness of the sound. So also on smelling, tasting, and touching, there will be only passive consciousness of odor, taste, and touch. On thinking, there will be only passive consciousness of thought. To have this kind of passive consciousness, one must practice mindfulness meditation continuously. If one has only this passive consciousness, this is the end of all suffering, which means Nibbana. This is the Buddha's brief teaching to Bhikkhu Maluja Buddha as recorded in Maluja Buddha Sutta. After listening to this teaching, Bhikkhu Maluja Buddha reported to the Buddha how he came to understand that if one is not mindful of seeing at the moment of its arising, one is bound to meet suffering and thus be far from Nibbana. If there is mindfulness, one will be free from suffering and thus be near to Nibbana. Buddha confirmed his remark. Bhikkhu Maluja Buddha meditated on seeing, hearing, etc. at the moment of their arising, and before long he became an Arhat. So now if one wants to be a stream winner, etc., practice meditation continuously on seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking whenever they arise. If one practices thus, when concentration becomes strong, one will come to know by direct knowledge the difference between matter and the mind, cause and the effect, impermanency, unsatisfactoriness and egolessness. It is in conformity with the teaching, Samahito yatha bhutam pajanati, meaning concentration leads to the right understanding. How? We have many times identified for you to understand these theoretical explanations in your practical meditation. When concentration is strong and every act of noting the scene, one can discriminate between the visual object, the eye and the scene. Out of these three, visual object and the eye are matter or material phenomena, which has no consciousness, no cognitive power. Eye consciousness and the noting mind are the mental phenomena which has consciousness and cognitive faculty. So in every act of noting the scene, one discerns that there is only matter and mind, and no self or no atta. This is the knowledge distinguishing between mind and matter, nama rupa paricchira jnana. When noting the sound as hearing, one also comes to know that ear and the sound are material phenomena or matter, and the ear consciousness or hearing consciousness and the noting are the mind. There is only matter and mind, no person or no ego. And smelling also, the nose and the odor are matter, and the nose consciousness or smelling consciousness and the noting are the mind. There is only matter and the mind. And eating, when you are noting, the tongue and the taste are matter, and the tongue consciousness or tasting consciousness and the noting are the mind. There is only mind and matter. When one is noting the walking, standing, sitting, or touching, rising, falling on the abdomen, etc., one comes to know that body and tangible objects are matter, and body consciousness and the noting are the mind. There is only matter and the mind. Then when one is noting about the wandering mind or the thoughts or reflections, one comes to know that the seat of the consciousness and the object of the mind are matter, and consciousness and noting are the mind. There is only matter and the mind. In this case, objects of mind can be reflections, thoughts, concepts, forms, etc. But objects of mind are mostly tangible matter. That is why object of mind is mentioned as matter. In walking meditation, if one's mindfulness is sharp, one discerns that because there arises the intention to walk, that is the form walking or the movement walking, and sitting and standing also, one discerns that because the intention to sit arises, that is sitting takes place. Because the intention to get up or stand up, that is standing up. So also in noting scene, one discerns that because there is visual objects, scene arises. Because there is eye, scene arises. And hearing also, one likewise discerns it. Noting thus, one becomes to realize to a certain extent that these acts are neither caused by ego nor I, but are just the results of corresponding causes mentioned above. This is the knowledge distinguishing between cause and effect. Pajya Parikahanyana. When one's faculties are all well balanced, then one can realize in every act of noting, one notices that both the object of noting and the noting arise anew and then pass away. At first one notices the beginning and the ending of a step, and likewise in the rising movement of the abdomen. With the improvement of concentration and knowledge, one notices them in segments. Thus, by the right knowledge, one comes to understand clearly that things are neither permanent nor pleasurable, but unsatisfactory. Life is just a phenomena, and there is neither ego nor soul. This is the majority of the true insight knowledges, namely anicca nupassana jnana, the understanding of the impermanency, dukkha nupassana jnana, the understanding of the unsatisfactoriness, and anatta nupassana jnana, the understanding of the egolessness. The maturity of the true insight knowledges, Nibbana is realized through Riyan, Magga and Phala jnana, path and fruition knowledge. Then one becomes at least a stream winner or Sotapanna, and forever escapes from the four nether worlds. One will be reborn in the good existences of human and or celestial worlds, and within 7 existences will again realize Nibbana through Arhata, path and fruition knowledge. So it is highly essential to practice meditation to become at least a stream winner or Sotapanna. In every act of noting, the effort to note is Samma Vayama, right effort. Mindfulness is Samma Sati, right mindfulness. Continuous keeping of the mind on the object to be noted in meditation is Samma Samadhi, Maganga, right concentration. These 3 belong to the section concentration and are called Samadhi Maganga. With the strengthening of them and every act of noting, there arises Sammaditi Maganga, right understanding. The will which inclines the mind onto the object of meditation to develop right understanding is Samma Sankappa Maganga, right thought. These 2 belong to the section wisdom and are called Panya Maganga. Samma Vaja, right speech, Samma Kammanta, right action, and Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. They belong to the section morality, and they are called Sila Maganga. Every morning we administer 8 precepts to you all, and by observing these 8 precepts, or in daily life even 5 precepts, it accomplishes these 3 Magangas. Every time one make a note of like rising, falling of the abdomen, one is developing these noble eightfold path. This eightfold noble path is the middle way, Majjhima Patipada, first discovered by our Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be being. This middle way can cause distinctive insight knowledge and distinctive path and fruition knowledge to arise. So I would like to advise you to practice this meditation even if you go back to worldly life. By thus practicing, may all meditators be able to make progress in the development of insight wisdom and realize Nibbana in the near future through the path and fruition knowledge.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Idame Punya Nibbanasa Pachayo Hotu Idame Punya Yatinang Hotu Sukita Hondu Nyatayo Imano Punya Baga Sabha Satana Tema Sadhu. May you all be happy. May you all be healthy. May you all be free from suffering. May you all attain eternal peace or nirvana in the shortest possible time.
Sadhu.